Well, good morning. You're watching Morning at NTVS, still continuing the age limit ruling conversation. Of course, our man on the ground, Andrew Chamaguru, is in Mbale. As you heard earlier on, some of the opinions and thoughts from the public. And joining me, I did say that some of us might not understand the legalities. You know, we might want to have someone join us. It's a lawyer, Oscar Kihika. Good morning.
Good morning.
I might want to mention that you're also on the legal team of NRM. Head of it, actually?
Director legal.
Director legal, yeah. And we were going to try and first sway away from just pinpointing NRM. But when I hosted last year Honorable Raphael Majazi, and I asked him, with all the uproar, with all the concerns and the comments from the people and their perceptions of the bill at the time, I asked him, do you believe this, in all honesty, this bill is a M70 bill, an NRM bill, it's a leadership bill. It's nothing to do with him, it's everything to do with, you know, 4 leaders who come and it benefits the future. Honestly, do you believe that this was done in all honesty, not just about the one man, but about future leaders?
Well, I think it just so happens that the focus of the bill at the time was on one provision, one amendment, but there were more than just one proposed amendment in that bill.
Yeah.
It's just because that one of those amendments that was proposed happened to touch on the office of the president, and therefore political commentators quite predictably stated that this was a bill that really was a Museveni bill. And to be honest, I don't think that was the case. Okay. From a party perspective, and having you know, benchmarked in other areas, we came to the decision that one, you don't have to, capacity, right, is not determined
by age.
By age.
Okay.
And there are various examples, and for purposes of one, continuity, right, and 2, to have inclusiveness, everybody to participate in public affairs. We thought it was best to pull on the resources that everybody across the board has. Everybody has got a contribution to make. Okay. Thirdly, see, because every country has got its own peculiar circumstances.
Okay.
Right. Just to give you an example, when the United States was formed, this democracy that is in the United States, it was actually an experiment, okay, then. And when the first president was elected in 1789, at that time, what the thinking was, actually it was the United States was born out of a rebellion. At that time, what was common were monarchies, okay? And here were a group of individuals who decided that no, we don't want hereditary and monarchism and stuff like that. We want collective leadership. Hence the idea of a government for the people, by the people, was born, right? But it was an experiment, and it continues to be a changing experiment.
You said we might have focused on one thing and missed the others. What are those we might have missed that might have been, we should have probably put a light on, you feel? Because I do feel a lot was highlighted. Well, I was hoping you argue the fact that, you know, just because Museveni is the one in power at the time, that this was argued, that it could have been argued at any point.
No, there were, I mean, I need to go back into that. But the truth of the matter, I think there was about 7. I need to look at the bill, at the act, right? There were about seven other.
So two things. One, Honorable Wilfred Nwagawa made a comment and said, I think most of us have seen this. Said that those from NRM who voted against the age limit bill are being left out of the party's processes and parliamentary committees, and sort of it's a reward for your bad behavior, if I could say it that way. Well, is it happening?
No, not necessarily so. And I can tell you this, there is a lot of internal debate.
Debate.
Yes.
Debate is the word you're choosing to use. Okay.
There's always a lot of internal debate, but there's always a lot of internal debate. And where the debate, sometimes it gets quite heated, right? Okay. And there are people who then take it others take it personally and so on and so forth, right? But you see, that's where the strength of NRM has been, because before taking a decision, there is always wide consultation internally before a position is arrived at. Okay, the mere fact that you disagree doesn't necessarily mean that you become ostracized, right? I mean, they're okay, without meaning to reveal too much. There are times where I have stated issues where I'm opposed to in those
Let me ask you, Oscar, for years and years, NRM looked like it stood as one voice. And for the past few years, it's been, you can see a bit of a difference. And I've said debate. You see some people falling on a different end from what the party is saying. And especially on this age limit thing, it came out more because there were some people who said, but this is what we think. And actually some argued it's not what we think. We went to the people like you asked us, we got the people's opinions, and we came and said this. This morning when you know, we're talking to people in Mbale, their comments were, probably one of the biggest issues is the fact that some people felt they told their MPs one thing and they did another. But now especially the NRM MPs saying that, is it because you belong in NRM that you can't have choice?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. In fact, let me tell you something. If you don't have debate in an organization, then that organization is doomed. Yeah. Yeah. Because you need to have you need to distill, right, different ideas in order to come with an informed decision. Yeah. You see, if you're going to have a monolithic form of thinking, where would one be, right? We saw that. That was a big problem, by the way. Yes. I don't know if they were old enough. But that was a big problem in the days of UPC, right? UPC. I was not old enough for UPC 1, but I was old enough, and I could understand what was happening with UPC 2, because they stifled internal debate. All right,
we'll go with one.
We'll just go with one decision, whether they like it or not, and that helped feed, you know, into the strengthening of the opposition, of the people parties that opposed it. So it's really healthy, and there's nothing wrong with having opposing views. But once you've had those opposing views, then you try to come to a consensus and an agreement, and then it's from there that then you take a forward position. Those then that decide to basically lose their tempers and take things personal, I think, are not being disciplined, right? Because you have then to be, there are certain decisions that have been made, which I, as an individual, may not necessarily be happy. But that is what the consensus is. Yes. And because we have discussed it and distilled it, then that's the line that we take. Okay? Yeah. Because you see, it's important to always have these discussions and distilling. Because supposing you take that direction, later on you realize, oh, you know, the people that were saying this and
because that. Because we did see some people take their own choice, yes, despite the party's voice.
Yes. And then you go back and say, oh, maybe we're a bit wrong on this one. Okay. Perhaps we need to readjust. Okay? That's what mature and dynamic political organizations do.
Speaking of maturity, as a country, we've seen our leaders go to court. Most cases after an election, they'll go, and you find Ugandans switch off at that point and say, oh, you're going to the courts of law. I'm not sure you're going to get justice. But I'm seeing a bit of silence, and the kind of silence reads that Ugandans are not sure what could come out of today. And not sure because maybe also the profiles of the 5 justices. These are people who you never really know where it could sway. But I have a feeling, Oscar, that you're very confident where today's ruling might go.
Why do you think I'm confident? Where does that confidence
I really have a swaying feeling. Prove me wrong. You're not confident of today's ruling.
Well, look, first and foremost, I don't think it's...
it's not obvious?
It can't be. There are certain points of law. Okay. You're going to be forcing me to now break this rule, but which I don't want to go into. But without going into the details, there are certain points of law which I think will obviously go in the favor of the respondent. There are others where, if it were me, right, I could see maybe the petitioners might have a bit of a point, but from a procedural perspective, okay. But I'm not. You're
I was about to say break that down.
No, I'm not going to do that because I'll be going down into the subject.
You can't even give us a bit of basic breakdown.
You call me later
after.
On. After.
Okay.
Then I'll be able to explain why it is that I'm saying this. But you can. aspects where I'm confident, yes, it's going to go for towards the respondent side.
Yeah.
There are aspects where I think, in my personal opinion, where the judges may rule against us. But that's what the name of the game is, right? And incidentally, I look forward to this ruling because it's part of the continuing constitutional growth and dispensation that we adopted from 1995, and hope that it will be a guide for generations to come. I was just listening to my colleagues
Yes.
when they were on air and having their debate. I disagree about this notion that you have to have a wholesome constitutional amendment all at once and stuff like that. You see, a constitution is a living document which is supposed to reflect the times. Okay? And very often, one of my colleagues point to the United States Constitution. It has had 22 amendments since it was enacted. But those amendments were not done wholemeal. They were done piecemeal,
yeah,
as and when
yeah.
the circumstances.
The last time the Deputy Attorney General said that perhaps the bench can choose some elements that they find maybe inconsistent, not the entire law. Is that what you're trying to put across? That perhaps if they're uncomfortable with some inconsistencies, not the entire law, work around those to change those, not the entire law.
Yes, that is it. That is it.
Why not the entire law?
You know, it's very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous to say, let me change the whole entire law now.
Oh, okay, so it's a case of now.
It's a case of now. You see, what happens is that a constitution, unlike other acts, right? First and foremost, is a contract between the people and the state on how they want to be governed, and that is it reflects the socio-economic circumstances at that particular point in time. It's very difficult, and you could try to legislate even in the constitution for future conditions, right? So if you decide to legislate for future conditions, which you are not very sure of, and you do so now, right? You might be tying up. You might get yourself into a bit of a pickle, okay? But you do it as and when, right? You find it necessary to do so, so that it is in step with the times. Okay. Now, for example, if you decided, just to give you an example, if we decided to amend the constitution, adopt and say, let us amend the constitution to abolish, God forbid, and I'm sure it won't happen, the traditional institutions.
Kingdoms?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, it will cause an uproar.
Yes.
Okay. But you'd be trying to solve a perceived problem.
Okay.
You right? Okay. But you see, you're solving a perceived problem for now, but you're creating a bigger problem
for the future.
For the future. You see what I mean? So you can't do that.
Let me ask you, so you said you choose how, it's a contract, right? How the people...
Social contract, yes.
So there are three sides from what...
John Locke's
it's
theory.
Okay, from what I've seen since morning in the comments, there are three sides to it, if I can say. NRM, the opposition, but there's also the public. And I'm not saying that the NRM is speaking for the public and the opposition is speaking for the public, because you have either or in the public. But why do I feel like the NRM and the opposition have gone at it and the public is down here losing a voice, if I could say that? Because from the comments, for example, someone started with saying the age limit ruling, I'm not confident about it, but the sugar prices are high. So it's almost like they're so disconnected from what this might mean or what this is, and only two sides of it understand it. You know, that is, you see, you're just reflecting what it is that I was saying a couple of days ago. You see, we the intelligentsia, if we can call ourselves that, have actually lost touch with the reality of what people on the ground really want. Yes.
Okay? We have spent too much time politicking.
And together, so you
yes,
not
that's why I'm talking about with the intelligentsia, if I can, because the intelligentsia are who? The leadership, both of the party that is in government and the leadership that is in opposition. We are very far removed. In fact, I attended an iPod meeting some time back and was representing the party. And one of the just indulge with me, we were trying to prioritize, right? What is it that we should be doing as parties? And when I suggested that we should be looking at the economy, planning the economy, right? Collectively.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because iPod is the forum where all the parties sit together. We should come up with strategies on how we can develop this country, get our people out of poverty. I was extremely disappointed to see that they actually threw it off the agenda. It was not considered even as important.
Why?
Because our intelligentsia, and I'm including myself in this one here, we have totally lost it, right? We need ideological reorientation. When I talk about ideological orientation, I think I'm talking about strategic thinking. How is it and what should we do to get our people involved in the global economy, of which we're not players? Because if we don't do that, these very people are going to turn around, right? In fact, we stand the risk of having another Amin if we're not careful. Because people are getting tired of this politicking. What they want is food on the table. And
simple.
And it's simple.
Transportation, education for my children, nothing.
And by the way, please don't be mistaken. They are not beggars. They don't want to beg because they have got dignity. All they need from us as leaders is put in place policies that will enable them to wake up in the morning and be able to have an investment. That investment grows so that they're able to provide their families. That's at the basics.
Just put structures in place.
So that's why actually when you talk to the normal person, by the way,
their complaints went into sugar. I'm telling you.
Exactly. In fact, it is we on this side here who think that this thing here is a do or die thing. And the guys are just on that and say, but
you are very right.
Banobali Kuchi.
Yes.
Okay. For them, they are concerned that
they're on OTT tax. The age limit ruling, they all have taxes. Exactly. Somehow.
Exactly. So look, as leaders, we must wake up. We have got a huge problem here. We've got a young population that is educated at various levels, never mind the level, but unemployed, right? That's a problem as much as it is an opportunity. Yes. If we don't address that, it can become a problem. But we need to tap into it. Do I see any discussion around that one?
No.
We don't.
Okay.
Okay? But internally, I can tell you, as NRM, actually, we spend more time trying to figure out how do we solve this issue, right? How do we solve this issue? Because we see it as a potential problem. And one day, in fact, the other day I was having lunch, I think one of the iPod meetings. I was telling my colleagues from FDC, I said, you know what? I see that you like to stoke up the emotions of the young people. I said, but you know something? You are riding a tiger that will...
And the young people have the energy.
The energy, they will come to bite you. Yeah. What is it that you really have in mind to cater for their interests? Silent. So, so I want to agree with you that actually very glad we are here,
and the people are
just looking at us. To use their local term, local linga finger.
That's true. What's I don't even know if I can say the best and as we wind up, what's the best or worst that could come out of today? As you've mentioned, people are more concerned about, did I go to work? Do I have work to go to? Do I have a way of providing? But then, of course, there's a group that, as you call them, intelligence, who are watching and saying, which way does it fall? Of course, as we've noticed, they've said they'll appeal. Either way, we're going back to court. Either way.
No,
for it, against it.
Okay, one thing that is certainly for sure,
yes.
which I can predict with certainty, is that this is a matter that will ultimately be decided in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Either side.
Either way.
Either way it's going to appeal. But if you're asking me, my prediction is that constitutional governance will be the winner. at the end of the day. Why? Why?
Oscar.
Why? Yes. Yes, constitutional governance will be the winner at the end of the day because we are witnessing a process, okay, on how the constitution is, is working. This is how the constitution works, right? People propose an amendment, they are not happy with it, then they go to an arbiter to see whether or not that's what constitutional governance is all about. The sad thing, though, and as I conclude, it's all very well and nice, but see, the ordinary person doesn't understand all this complicated jurisprudence, and that's an indictment on us. But I've always said this is my own personal opinion. I am a product of Western education, Western form of education, a lawyer who studied the common law and stuff like that. But a common law which does not mean anything to the ordinary person here. We should be thinking about developing our local jurisprudence that is understandable and identifies with everyone. It's not a matter of me putting on my white wig of senior counsel and they look at me and say, okay, what's this? And they do not understand what is happening in court, and yet it concerns
actually affects them.
Yes,
it does affect them. If there's any time that I've had a guest in a leadership position who I am very proud of after we've finished the interview, it's Oscar Kihika, because you've been very honest and said, listen, we have not paid enough attention to the people on the ground. We need to have these discussions. They have been talked about. People just probably don't put their minds together. But I think when 2 or more, 3 Oscars script up and say we are wrong, we should do something, maybe that's where the conversation starts.
I hope so.
we all hope so. We all hope so.
Yeah.
Of course, just in a few minutes, the ruling will start, and man on the ground, Andrew Chamagar, is there. And of course, NTV will be taking you to Mbale for that. That's it for Morning at NTV. Have a good day.